Welcome to the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast, episode number 64.
64.
Right in the heart, in the middle of the dog days of summer. We are still hard at it, giving our viewers a weekly dose of guitar information. And
now, when are the dog days?
I think it's
a window. It's an astrological thing.
I don't. To me, it's when it gets really, really, really hot, and you're just wondering, will this ever end? But we've had here in Michigan, we've had some ups and downs where we had some really hot temperatures, and then it's cooled off, and then earlier in the week it was very humid. And now the last few nights have been cool. But I think maybe August. Usually August is kind of a tough month. It can be. But that's what I've noticed in the streets here in town. Everyone's gone. Everyone's empty. Everyone's on vacation somewhere.
This is Michigan, though. They cannot take anything over like 82.
Well, you can just go up north and.
That's true. It'll cool off real quick.
We have lakes all around us, so.
Yeah. Well, and your musical musings are about your trip up north.
Yes, I want to.
And the travels and important stops along the way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll cover that.
Today we are going to do something we've talked about and we've sort of done in little bits. But today we're starting a systematic comparison A/B of Alnico magnets and a P.A.F style pickup. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
We've got the two beautiful heritage guitars here. We have developed a reference set of pickups that we're searching for a name for. Today we will be comparing Long Alnico 2 versus Long Alnico 5 in Les Paul style guitars of the same weight, same pickups wound back to back, same resistance for both pickups, 7.7K.
Same materials in the guitar.
We will. I feel this is the purest test of Alnico magnet grades. And specifically, the USA-made Alnico magnet grades that ThroBak exclusively uses. So today, it's Long A2, it's Long Oriented A5, USA-made. We get these. We have for Alnico 5, we've got 4 varieties. Mm-hmm. For Alnico 2, we've got 3 varieties. We maintain they all sound different. We figure we can get 36 episodes out of this,
or 36 variations.
So variations, and that's just A/B comparison. We could even do variations of like level of charge with them. It's going to be
unending if we wanted.
It's going to be for the guitar nerd. I think you'll love it.
Yeah,
I hope so. So we're going to start with that today. I was thinking the 64 episode I might play a guitar from 1964, of which I have 2 electrics. Mm-hmm. But I forgot about that. I'm going to start with this. We'll play those some other time.
Sure.
Okay, so Matthew, we have got the ThroBak mailbox.
Right.
You have some items? I have one.
I've got a couple items. Speaking of guitar nerdy type stuff, one viewer said that they found it very interesting, the difference in the wire gauge used in the PRS Silver Sky that you mentioned.
I sure hope I'm right about that. I don't think I'm the only one that has mentioned this is a difference. I apologize if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that is a difference. I know the little metal slugs are definitely a difference as well.
They weren't aware of that, and they found that interesting.
Yeah.
And then one other viewer mentioned in the list of amplifiers that you went through, said that he listed almost 10 amps that you had, so he felt you were well on your way to the prescribed amount of 20 amplifiers that you must own.
I think I'm probably past that. Have you done a rough count? I gotta be.
Well, now maybe you do have one of these. He mentioned a magnetone. Do you have a magnetone?
I had a magnetone.
You had one.
I purchased a real magnetone from Kit Anderson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And it is a cool amp, but they're kind of fragile in terms of like the one I bought had been through, I think, a fair amount of.
It was a vintage amp.
It was a vintage. It was a vintage magnetone. It sounded really good. But it didn't quite have the headroom I was hoping. And I think it was a 212. Is it a 210 or 212? I think it was a 212 amp. And I thought, like, it's a little too fragile, a little too much to want to bring to a gig. But if you were recording, you'd really love it as a kind of like an available tone.
And what happened to that?
I sold it to the guy, the Brian Williams guy, the collector.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. I sold him that and a blackface Princeton that had the original vinyl cover that was like mint.
Oh, wow.
And that was a nice amp, but I like the Princeton Reverb better.
Well, there's no Reverb. This is the
Princeton. This is just straight Princeton. But I think the guy why am I drawing a blank? Tom Petty's guitar player.
Mike Campbell?
Mike Campbell. I'm pretty sure he uses that amp, even still live to this day. But this was a very early Princeton black panel that didn't have the Fender logo on it, on the grill cloth. Okay, I interrupted. Have I sidetracked your...
Then he also mentioned, I don't know if you have one of these. He said you need a Dr. Z amp, but do you have a Dr. Z?
I've got a Dr. Z Plus.
Yeah, that's right.
No, sorry, not Z Plus, Z Lux.
Z Lux.
And I purchased that from Guitar Center. They had it on... I noticed it online.
I remember that now.
And they kept dropping the price. So I think I called the store and I asked why the price kept dropping, and then they told me it had that the cabinet had been damaged, and what had happened was it had taken a fall at some point,
right? And
the joints in the cabinet made it so it was like doing that. So I asked them to give me more off of it, and I'd buy it. And I got it, and it was like new except for this fall it had taken. It didn't cosmetically look bad, but I managed to work glue into all the joints, and then I put little L-shaped metal brackets in the corners to kind of straighten it up, and now it seems fine.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, those were they use as a lightweight Italian birch.
Yes,
to reduce the weight of the cabinet.
Yeah, it's a fairly thin Baltic birch cabinet, and I don't know if they changed the design, but they have kind of a mortise and tenon baffle board that was in it, but that wasn't really glued into mine. So I think the intent was to have that be kind of the reinforcement for the whole thing. And when that one got constructed, the baffle board wasn't glued in adequately. So if it got a bump, it like made the whole thing. You know, the only thing kind of keeping it stable was the corners that were, I assume, tongue and groove, mortise and tenon, or whatever you call it. Anyway, yeah, I've got that.
So you're
nice amp. I'm well on. I think I've surpassed the 20.
We'll have to do a complete list for the future show.
So the what is it? The logic that went into buying guitars when Rainbow Music was in town here fell apart when they left. So the logic was, you've got a great music store in town here that always has nice used stuff for sale. Mm-hmm. So it's a resource to like get stuff, but it's also they had you could sell on consignment there, and they had a very good deal for consignment. And then when they left, you're like, I can't sell anything at consignment there anymore.
Yeah, no, they had very generous terms. They moved stuff. It was priced to sell, and the turnover was.
Yep. The last thing I got in there was right before COVID, or maybe it's sort of in a break in COVID. It was a Vibrolux Reverb that I've got. Got it for like $600 something. It was really dirty, silver panel, silver face, but it was fine. Had one of the little baffle things in the back missing, but I got one made at Mojo Tone and cleaned it up. It's fine.
Yeah. A little bit of
made a little
armor roll or some.
Yeah, cleaned it up and And speaking of that, I have given the same grill cleaning. I will give. I'm going to do a video of the grill cleaning treatment I do, grill cloth, for Silverface amps.
Oh, with the new Princeton.
Well, it's an old Princeton.
Well, the old Princeton.
Yes,
Relatively
which I purchased
collection.
at a price break because it was not making any noise, like Guitar said it was. Well, it was not working.
Right.
It was making noise, but nothing that was coming out of an electric guitar. And I got it fixed. I fixed it. And now I'm going to, I don't know, restore it. I'm going to clean it up. I thought I'll do a video of that.
The last comment was that people were interested in the fact that you and Paul are related.
That's true.
And they thought it showed, was one of the reasons why.
Did they actually? I hadn't. Was that actually comments like that?
Yeah, no, it was a comment left there.
Good.
Yeah, it's in the last YouTube that showed why ThroBak is delivering such great products.
I swear. Well, the other part of it is too. I've known you for a very long time.
Yeah,
so we were friends long before you were working here.
True.
And Todd, same thing.
Yeah, they finished up that comment. It said good attitudes. That's what they're.
Well, my contact with you was a photo job.
Mm-hmm.
You were a part of the people art directing a photo shoot that I was.
You were doing. There's at the space right in here.
Yeah, just started talking about guitars. Yep.
Well, that it's interesting you mentioned that because I think I would do this test on people, and I had only started it recently when I sort of figured it out. But I don't know if you answered it because I said you had a guitar here on the wall, like probably your
I had a
Gibson
J50
acoustic.
on the wall over there, a 64 J50 that I bought when I was a teen.
My test would be with someone, probably at that point, because you're a little older, and I would say to the person, how many guitars do you have?
Oh.
And if they can't answer the question, I know that
It's
they have
a lot.
They have a lot of guitars. Because I did that.
Did I give the
I
answer?
think you kind of were kind of evasive. It was like, and then it was, he's got a lot of guitars.
I think that's probably true.
Because there was a partner of Deirdre's who wouldn't answer it, and then I realized when I questioned him closely, I realized and he told me it's like he really didn't even know how many guitars he had. So it's funny.
Okay. I do have. So today, and this is a common question I get either through email or over the phone. We get a question as to like, where do the guitar picks, and there's one right there. We give these away with pickups, pedals that we sell, a medium and a heavy pick that says ThroBak on it. People like them because they don't have a grip on them, but they're not super glossy, so they kind of stain your fingers there without twisting.
Right. I like them. They're nice.
In fact, a studio session ace years ago, Rob McNally, who uses our overdrive, who bought 2 overdrive boosts from us years ago because he found it a very useful tool. We sent him these with the pedal, and he wanted to know where he could get more. Well, we don't sell them, but these are Dunlop poly picks, in case you're interested. Now, I suspect, though, that the yellow colored ones have a little different texture. I just purchased yellow because I thought they're very visible. And also our logo has sort of a orangey yellow in our sort of logo badge. So I thought, just, if you drop it too, it's really easy to see yellow.
So if you went into a local guitar retailer, can you buy the yellow?
I don't think so. See, the reason I say I suspect that the like a tortoiseshell one might have a different texture is I'm pretty sure at some point that they had poly picks. You know how when you go to Elderly, they have a big sort of like a drawer bin thing where you can buy picks and kind of look through them,
right,
and get some to buy. I'm pretty sure they had some in there that said poly picks, and they were tortoiseshell. And they were slicker than these.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not positive that was long enough ago. I couldn't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure that. So I'm wondering if the yellow ones have a little more sort of tooth to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know if you think we should sell these separately as a accessory. The only reason I'm hesitant to do it is because, we have free shipping. What am I going to charge for these? They're kind of a giveaway with more expensive stuff.
Right.
But, and our shopping cart is set up for free shipping. So it's sort of like a complication that's maybe a little bit too hard to justify. But anyway, if you want similar picks, Dunlop poly picks, and the yellow ones, maybe those are the ones you want. I don't know. Maybe the other colors have a little bit more of a texture. I don't know. But that's worth investigating. Okay, is there more to the ThroBak mailbox, Matthew?
Nope.
That's it? Okay.
That's what we got for today.
So we will get the guitars for the pickups of the week. And again, the pickups of the week this week is our first installment of the Alnico bar magnet A/B comparisons in P.A.F style pickups. These are all USA made too, I will say. So some of this has crossover to overseas magnets, but we use all USA made because, I've talked about this, sort of a lot in other videos, but evidence points to anecdotally and also kind of comes through in the sound that overseas magnets may be using some filler material such as iron in order to kind of keep the price down. And that does have an effect on the magnet. All of the magnets that we use are USA made, and they're made with legacy formulations that are either still on file with these places or formulations that are based upon magnets that we have sent, vintage magnets we have sent the magnet manufacturer, which has labs. They use all. This is one reason to deal directly with the magnet manufacturer is they have labs as a control for their formulations, where they analyze the chemistry of the magnets when they're in production, just as a way to make sure they're making consistent products. But you can also give them a vintage magnet, and they will grind all the surfaces off to get all any surface oxidation off that will throw the reading off. They explained this to me. They will grind it down into a small enough, cleanly ground item that they can put it in a vacuum chamber, because even the ambient air will mess with the reading from an X-ray spectrograph. And that's how they can get that's what they'll do. And they have done with some of our magnets to duplicate. So everything we've got as far as these formulations, either legacy formulations or vintage magnets that we have sent them. We've got 2 fine guitars here, and I will get them, and we'll be right back with that. Okay, we are back, Matthew. The plan here is, let me show the guitars here.
Guitar.
The plan here is, now, should I talk a little about the guitar?
Sure, a little bit. Yeah, why not?
These are the 2 guitars, Heritage. Pete Farmer is a friend of ours, and he's the guy who does the custom shop at Heritage. And I asked him, I said, hey, can we get 2 guitars? I mean, I paid for these, but specifically I wanted 2 H150s, custom core guitars that were the exact same weight, same bridges, for a comparison like this. And they obliged, and I purchased these 2. This and the next one you will see. And the idea is here, we're going to kind of make sure that the guitar itself, of course, they're wood, but the guitar itself, everything we can control with the guitar in terms of weight, style of guitar, make of guitar, your production, it will kind of hopefully take that bass line, make that bass line for the instrument itself as flat as possible. Mm-hmm. And so this is a Heritage H150 custom core. Let me see. We've got that nice headstock with the inlay. And I really do like the look of that treatment of it. I will talk about some features of the guitar before I talk about the pickups. These are very, I think, very reasonably comparable to a historic reissue. I will give some examples. One is Heritage does not, claim this, but these appear to be the same exact M69 butyrate rings that I believe Gibson, that are available from Advanced Plating, that I believe is the source for Gibson, as well as these for Heritage. So you're getting either identical or pretty darn near identical M69 rings. The pots in these, this is 50s wiring. Mm-hmm. I did measure the pots for the volume when I had these apart. Many may be familiar with this and many may not, but part of a spec of a 50s Les Paul is that they have 50s wiring, which is 500K pots for both. It has to do also with how the tone capacitor is hooked up. But the other is pots from the 50s and 60s tend to have the 20% tolerance plus or minus falling above 500K. So you will typically get pots that are from 500 to 560K.
Okay.
For whatever reason, Gibson guitars now, that tolerance seems to fall below 500K. So you might get pots that are 440, 460. So that's a small difference within the tolerance, but that difference will make is noticeable in that the tolerance above 500K means you get a little better treble response. These pots, which I think are custom made for Heritage, because they're obviously different than the Gibson ones. These measured between 510 and 540.
Oh, wow.
So I believe they have specifically spec'd these to be in the correct range for a vintage Gibson 50s and 60s era guitar. So that shows some insight, some of the insight that went into this.
Right. Attention.
We sell a wiring harness that sells quite well with Bumblebee capacitors and pots, custom pots that do fall above that tolerance above 500K. People very often want that sort of marginal but noticeable increase in treble response for these style of guitars. So they've taken that into account. These don't have Lux capacitors, but they have orange drop capacitors, which are very high quality. Standard ABR1 bridge. Mm-hmm. I did put Tone Pro's posts on here just for the pickup swaps. I can take this tail piece up without having to totally restring the guitar, and then I can swap the magnets, put some extra leads in here. But these had longer steel posts that now come on historic reissue guitars that are also correct spec for a 59 era Les Paul. Brass thumb wheels, which is also a 50 spec. Nice, very nicely rolled binding, and frankly, fretwork sort of it's a plect frets and rolled binding, which also historic reissues are. Mm-hmm. These are better. They did a better job than the historic reissues I have now, and I have some current ones. I really like the historic reissues, but I did have to kind of
do some work on them.
It was not a big deal, but I had to do some work, whereas I did not have to do it with this. Nut for this is bone, very well cut nut, which is actually really super important with a plec. Mm-hmm. That was one of the details of the historic reissues, that the bone nut was not cut low enough to get the optimum plec sort of action and clean, buzz-free playing up high. Okay. So anyway, you will see the other guitar. This guitar has long A2 in it. I have put a little label here, Matthew, to display that. Can you read that?
I can read that.
Let's hope the viewers can too. The other has long Alnico 5. We're going to compare these clean and dirty. The amp we're using is it's right there. In fact, this is live, Matthew. You have put your hand in there. We will
move that page
show
out of the way.
Well, let's show the
right down here.
Let's show the not live picture of the settings. Those are the settings right there. We have these same settings for both Telecaster, Strat, humbucker, P.A.F style pickups, P90s. But we do have a 2 different settings for a Nobels pedal. This is our humbucker setting. And that's it. With you're getting, when the pedal's on, when we're getting dirty tones, you're getting that Nobels ODR1 pedal. And reverb is with an aux box, but that Silverface 79 Silverface Deluxe reverb is the amp. So let's have I missed something? I've been going on a bit there, but I feel that everybody should know what kind of the principles of this A/B comparison are. Oh, I will add, the pickups are set at the exact same height and setup for both of these.
Okay.
Action, which my preferred action is 2 millimeters at the 12th fret with strings open. That's what both of these guitars are. That's my preference for Strats, Telecasters, Gibson style guitars. That's a pretty standard action for a good new guitar also. The pickups are as measured from the top of the pole screws, are 2 millimeters away from the low E and high E strings on the bridge pickup, and 4 millimeters away from the high and low E strings on the neck pickup, and that is with the action open, not fretted anywhere.
Right.
All right.
Then what type of strings are you using?
I am using round core nickel-plated steel strings.
10 to 46?
10 to 46, yes. Thank you, Matthew. And the other thing I did, and, this is... maybe I'll do a video about this one day. But I also made sure that these saddles were absolutely, exactly, precisely filed for this string cage. And that each string individually is exactly 2 millimeters off. So we have everything as precisely, cleanly done as possible to get optimized tone out of the guitar and pickups and have a standard real comparison between everything. And these will all be done with covers on. I bet people really want the comparison to happen at this point,
I think
don't
they do. They're waiting for it.
But I'm doing these all with the covers on because this is the way the pickups were designed. And frankly, I think they sound, a P.A.F style pickup sounds better with good covers on them. And the covers we make are, we think, the best available on the planet. Nickel-plated, nickel-silver, the thinner version of P.A.F covers that were available and now available through ThroBak. Okay. Ready? I need to drink water after all that. Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to do now the dirty with people know what the song is. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, hold on. I was starting the right spot. Okay, wait.
Say, right.
Okay.
Very good.
Let's switch guitars, and we will now go to the long Alnico 2 guitar. Be right back.
No,
No, wait, sorry. This was the long Alnico 2. We will go right to the long Alnico 5. There's a little sticker on these in case I mess it up.
In case you mess it up.
Okay. We shall do the clean tones.
Okay.
With the long Alnico 5. Show the guitar here real quick. Same weight as that one. Little different finish. Forgot the name. This is a Heritage Cherry, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I think, is a Tobacco Burst or something.
Yeah, it's darker.
Both super nice, though. Okay. Ready, Matthew?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, that's long oriented Alnico 5, and we will play them dirty now. Ready, Matthew?
Ready?
Okay, so should we? Should I just do a real quick A/B comparison here?
Yeah, just alone with the guitar.
Alone. Okay, should we? Let's put your bass away there real
All
quick.
right.
We'll be right back, and then you can hold one guitar.
Okay, that's good.
And I'll just switch them back and forth. Be right back. All right, we're back, Matthew. We'll just do some. I've got the A5 guitar here still. Mm-hmm. A5 long Alnico 5. This is long oriented Alnico 5. And I'll do a few clean tones, and then I'll just switch it real quick. Okay. Are you going to say they sound exactly the same?
Well, I'm listening very closely. Okay, so to me, playing them, these have a softer attack. The Alnico 2 has a softer attack. You can hear that.
A2 is a faster attack. These are a little warmer on the low end. A2. Sorry, A5. Faster attack with A5.
You call it faster?
That's the way I would describe it. Kind of feel under pick. I think you will notice it more with dirty tones. So, also the Alnico 5 is a stronger, more Gauss, more efficient magnet. So It feels a bit punchier when you play the Alnico 5. So let's see here. This is Alnico 2. Bridge pickup. Okay, let's switch to the Alnico 5. All right, this is Alnico 5.
It's in the neck position there.
Now we're back in the bridge.
Yeah,
Does that come across?
It does.
I think the output's sort of equalized when you're recording it. This just feels a little punchier.
Yeah.
Under the fingers and maybe a bit more mids. Okay. Well, that is our first installment of the A-B magnet comparisons, Matthew.
Very good.
And I may have said this, but I will repeat it again in case I did say it again before. But the concept with these are both 7.7K. Our sort of working name for these are Lucky 7 pickups. We can't find anybody that is using that. The reason for Lucky 7 is these are 7.7K. 57 Classics, which we actually get a lot of requests for. Hey, I love 57 Classics, but I'd like something that's unpotted. And I often explain this is how 57 Classics were designed. They have the same number of turns on both pickups. And these have the same number of turns on both pickups. The rare instance would be that you would get pickups, a P.A.F, vintage P.A.F, where they would both have the same number of turns. So I'm sure there's some out there, but it would be the lucky coincidence that both bobbins have the same number of turns. Now, we did our take on this, and our take on this is that they have the bobbins for each of these have the same number of turns, but one bobbin's wound on the Lisona 102, and the other is wound on the Meteor 301. What that does is it creates two bobbins with slightly different finished sizes of coils. Mm-hmm. That is a function of the different turn per layer or wire pitch that is inherent in both of those machines. That translates to a slight coil resistance offset, but it also does what I would describe as a frequency offset from having the two pickups wound on with different wire pitches, two coils within the pickup. And that translates to a more complex, tonally complex pickup than if they were both wound on the same machine with the same turn count.
Right.
These also have internal start wires, which a 57 Classic doesn't, but a vintage P.A.F does.
Right.
So these are the lucky happenstance that would be two coils wound in the same turn count on different machines, which you do see mixing and matching of coils with vintage P.A.F. So that if anyone has a suggestion for the title, the name of these, feel free to suggest it, but that's kind of the working name right now for these. They're not on the ThroBak website, but ultimately we're going to put these on the website. And do you think we should, if we're going to do A-B comparisons, the thought is we'll have, this will be the one model where people can choose what they want in terms of magnet for neck and bridge pickup. And from our full variety of magnets. We have a little bit of this, that we have a little bit of choice with a few models, but we don't have anywhere we got it sort of all laid out in the shopping cart. So,
right.
Okay. So expect more videos like this and with these fine guitars. All right, Matthew,
Nice.
What's next here? We're going to go to, we've done pickups of the week. We're going to go to the Guitargument, and this week is lightning round.
Lightning round. Exactly.
People seem to like the lightning round. Okay, we'll be right back with the lightning round. Okay, we're back with the Guitargument. It's a lightning round. Matthew, you've got some questions in the little bin here of questions. People want to see the little cardboard bin.
We should have a little.
I think
we should invest in something more sophisticated.
That's right. It should. Well, maybe we should have a sticker on it. Okay. All right. So 5 minutes. You're going to pick one?
I'll pick one and I'll read the first one.
All right. Go ahead.
I'm going to pick this one. I don't know which one it is, but it's going to say,
Yeah.
Oh, will future guitarists care about vintage correctness?
Well, Well, it's a moving target, isn't it? Of course they will.
Why you say it's a moving target?
Well, it's a moving target in the sense that, we've already seen this. The least desirable guitars that weren't considered vintage. Well, there was sort of this period. I remember a time when the narrow nut Gibsons of the late 60s were kind of not considered vintage in the forums.
I see what you mean. All right, sure.
So
what you
you have like 80s era guitars now being considered 70s Les Pauls, they're now vintage, and 80s. So yes, it has to do with scarcity and also who played them of the actual era.
Yeah.
And then also who sort of like is the guitar player of the day that is playing when, because it just so happened that would be what the guitar was they could afford when they were kind of picking out a favorite. But then it becomes desirable because they're playing it. They're now noteworthy guitar players. Would you agree?
Well, I yes.
So I think that cycle continues.
But it also that is an ongoing argument where people will argue that even though these things are 40 or 45, 50 years old, that they still don't qualify as vintage because
I think that there's a little bit of
there's a bias.
There's a bias and associated too with, let's be realistic about it. If you have a forum that's specifically centered around vintage guitars, let's say, and I like these forums, but let's say we're talking about the Les Paul forum.
Okay.
It's really a vehicle to support the thesis that these are desirable guitars and therefore they're worth the money. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a vested interest in the people having those guitars, kind of keeping that as its own category as the super primo of the primo. But won't that already, as I said, it's a moving target, that already seems to shift in increments as time goes on.
Do you think in 20 years they'll be doing...
I'm waiting for those 80s era Strats to be, that I've got those American vintage Strats, which I love because that was the first good guitar I had. And pros use those things, but they don't quite have they don't have the ultra vintage price yet. Maybe someday that'll happen. I don't know. I buy them because I like them.
Yeah, I think the best thing that can happen. Well, is there any notable pros that's what they use? Known for using that guitar.
I saw an interview with who's the guy, the slide guy.
Sonny Landreth.
Yes, he uses one as his touring Strat. I saw an interview with him using one.
Have you ever seen him play before?
In person, no.
Yeah,
no.
I saw
pretty amazing. It's amazing kind of that he plays sort of fretted and slide notes at the same time.
I didn't realize that it shows me what I know sometimes, but I saw John Hyatt and then I was like, that's Sonny Landreth. I didn't realize that he was a member of his band. And I've listened to his music before, but to see him live, it was like, wow, that's pretty fantastic. He's a great player. Okay, you go for one there. See what you can do.
Okay. Let's see here. Should guitar companies stop chasing younger players?
And I think the other side.
You just mean they should just give up?
Well, the second part of that one I think was and just focus on get away from the.
Wait a minute, you're not supposed to know what these questions are, Matthew.
Well, I might have someone might have slipped those to me.
Okay.
But the idea behind it, I think the whole idea behind it was that they should not focus on Gen Z. That sort of, so and so, like Fender will come out with a guitar or a bass, and I think most people don't know who they are.
Okay. Well, I was looking at my phone, and Fender Gibson's sending this stuff out where they're what do they call it? They call it their certified vintage. Look at the prices on that stuff. So basically, Gibson is
already.
Yeah, but Gibson's got kind of a catalog of some select vintage guitars. I guess that's the idea, that they sell at mega prices.
Oh, this okay.
You see,
yeah.
so they're selling vintage guitars in their, what did I call it?
Certified
vintage. Yeah. So I guess it's like you're getting, I don't know. To me, it sounds like getting the certified Honda or something. It doesn't quite make sense. I mean, it makes sense for a car, but
so it's been verified by a
So.
professional. Someone's looked at it and said, "This is."
Yeah, but I mean, do you need Gibson to do that? But obviously, they're trying to focus on not the younger customer, probably with that.
Well, that maybe not is a bad thing especially if you're going to charge a lot of money, because isn't that the problem? People are reluctant to spend.
Yes, I guess there's an argument for it. Sure,
they're going to get duped. And didn't Jeff McErlane said when he bought his 64 Strat that he had people help him?
Yeah,
because he didn't want to get.
Oh yeah, I think it's a real problem. I think it's a real problem with Fender guitars.
Because you can mix and match.
Because they're modular. The necks, you can mix and match the necks. They're industrially produced guitars then, and more so now. So I know. So well, I had someone tell me that literally part of his faking them was to bury them in the backyard.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever taken apart one of your?
For a while.
You've got a Fender Telecaster. It's right behind your head there. A Fender Telecaster Relic.
Yes, that is
guitar.
a custom shop.
Have you taken that thing apart?
You mean, well, the pick guards come off.
Have you, like, what underneath it? What does it say?
It says Relic or something like that.
Right,
it's stamped in there because
multiple times.
Yeah, because seriously, they're so well done that In fact, one way to spot a fake is that it looks too old. Sometimes,
yeah.
It looks intentionally. I will give an example of this. I saw. Where did I see that? Actually, I think it was one. It was on, I'm not going to say it was, but it was on a YouTube video, and it showed what were supposedly vintage P.A.F. pickups, and they had brass screws on the back of them. They were showing the front of the back of them. The brass screws were like crazily corroded.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that screams somebody did that on purpose. Like, I've never seen one coming through here for repair. And we've seen a lot that are really toasted and kind of like had the covers off and been well used, which is very often how they fail because people are playing them with the covers off. But I've never seen one that had brass screws that looked like the heads were about to like corrode off of them. To me, it looked like someone dripped acid on them, on this pickup that I'm referring to, in order to try to make it look like it was super old. So very often a cue, I think, for fakes is they've overdone the
super aging.
They've overdone the aging.
That's like Fender. Some of those Fender aging, because I haven't seen a heck of a lot of vintage Fenders, but they're always overdone.
Yeah, it's particularly I think it's particularly noticeable with pickups because, if you really think about the life of the pickup, the bottom of it is pretty well enclosed from the elements,
mm-hmm.
Protected from the elements over time. If that's getting really, 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 really corroded, how did that happen?
Seems odd.
Okay. We're going to do one more. We did a lot of
do one more
pickup comparison, but Maybe people want to.
Oh, this is a good one.
This is a diversion from that. Go ahead.
This is a variation of maybe what's going on today. What would Leo Fender think of Fender today?
Oh my. Well, didn't he? So he remained a consultant with them after he left, correct?
For I think was it 3 or 5 years?
Yeah. And well, so what was his focus? His focus was always on the guitar player, right? And isn't sort of the claim?
It's always on the guitar player. It was on innovation. It was always in improving, making something.
Yeah.
Making something better.
And two, isn't the? I mean, it's notable that this was a guy that, was very like. There's records for all of the parts and pieces that go into these guitars, and what the costs were. He was very conscientious about recording, doing everything very deliberate in the construction of the guitar. Yet he did not copyright the shape of the Strat, which is this thing that's in question right now. Is it that it's copyright? Is that the claim right now?
Yeah, because they've hit at everything else and they've lost, so they're going for a copy. They're saying it's a piece a art. It's an artistic statement. So
he didn't do any of that. And when you think of it too, he was Fender early on was also sort of I don't know if you'd say a victim, but they had to change the broadcaster name.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this was not something that he thought was like the most important thing to focus on. So. Like the kind of if you're running a business, your kind of primary focus is like what benefits the customer, and this didn't fall into that category for him.
No,
and maybe he felt that that kind of the juggling he had to do with the names wasn't something that benefited the customer either. And it kind of ended up probably being a bit of a headache that diverted his efforts away from doing things that would benefit the customer. I'm guessing, but maybe he wouldn't like it. You think that's a reasonable conclusion?
Yeah, no, I'm reminded of a story.
Kind of the Fender of today with this sort of episode.
I'm reminded of a story when he first started G&L, and I think he came out, one of the very first prototypes was the do you know the SC? Recently the last it was the BBE G&L. They created one called the Fallout.
I know there was something like we saw at NAMM. Is that what you're talking about? They had a kind of it was actually a drawing that they had like resurrected of Leo's. The
Fallout was pretty similar to it. It was kind of a smaller body, and I believe it was called the SC or the SC2. Maybe it became the SC and then the SC2. They started prototyping that, and they brought it to a particular player, and this was all this sort of George Fullerton and Leo Fender and a couple of the other guys who had made the journey with him. Forrest White might have been there, but they went out to like a bar and they were letting some people play it, and they were getting instant feedback. And this one particular player didn't like it at all and didn't hold back what he thought about it. And Leo Fender was really, really kind of offended by him, but he went back and he couldn't understand. So why would he say that about the guitar? And I think he kind of said, "Why don't you make something like you used to make?" And I think out of that came the second incarnation of the broadcaster. And I can't remember the name of that artist's name, but he was like a well known. And they gave him the prototype, and then they said he actually really liked that guitar. And then they got feedback from him, and then they said to him, "Well, can you bring that guitar back because it's a prototype?" And they said, "Well, he didn't want to part with it." And he said, well, what are you going to do with it? And the guys at Fender said, well, we're going to run it through a bandsaw. Because they didn't want that stuff floating around.
Yeah.
And this artist was sort of a bit kind of shocked by it. And in the meantime, he was still using it, but it got stolen. And then he felt, oh my God, he was so embarrassed by the whole thing. He was kind of avoiding them. And then at a NAMM show, like a year later or something, they ran into him, and he didn't want to go near the G&L booth, but they said, come by the thing, we've got something for you. And they had like a production model of the broadcaster that then they had to change the name on that one too, and they gave to him. But
you're trying G&L made a broadcaster?
They did.
Oh, they did. I didn't know that.
It's most of the ones that you find that are collectible, they're all black.
Okay.
It's like a black metal kind of pick guard.
Yeah.
And it's a rosewood neck, and it's a.
Do you know what year this would have been?
I'm thinking 80, 82,
yeah, because I remember seeing
80s.
the Kicking Associates in town had one of their their Telecaster like ones, but it was kind of a cream plastic or cream paint or white, kind of off-white paint, metal pickguard, and said Leo Fender on the body, you know, handwritten on it.
Yeah, there's one,
and that would have been the 80s.
Yeah.
And
I think the G&L was forced to stop doing that. Those signed ones. And then for a while too, you can get they made a George Fullerton version. I've seen one of those on, I think it's on Reverb right now. But the Fender ones that said Fender right on the body, they had to stop making those too. It was considered. Fender didn't like it.
I would have seen, yeah. I'm not surprised. Okay. All right. So does that do it? Should we go to the Rorschach riffs, Matthew? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What kind of guitar do you need for this?
I'll take the Alnico 5 Heritage. That's fine.
All right. I will get that right now. Let me just get a drum roll and I'll give you that. Okay. Right there.
Hang on, move this over the way.
These are really well-made guitars. I know I've said that, but very, very pleased with them. Okay, here.
Oh, they look nice too.
Yeah, but I mean, like the playability part of it is really good, and the necks feel great. And I don't know if I've said this. I know that I'm assuming they're not going to advertise it. But I've heard more than one person say that these things have a neck that is very similar to a vintage burst. Were you did you? We went on a tour before they, I guess when they were under other ownership. Mm-hmm. And in the tour, they have a sort of metal filing cabinet that Gibson never brought with them, that has metal templates for neck shapes for banjos, and one of them's for a 59 Les Paul. They're machined templates. I assume they're the vintage Gibson ones that.
What did they actually look like? Were they?
They're like polished metal. Contour templates,
okay,
that are labeled, and
so they would have maybe.
So they've got reference. They've got like real of the era reference
and
templates.
So for like say,
I don't know if they're using them on
neck.
this, but I have to believe that they're definitely informed by it.
So with how many templates would you have for say a neck? Would there be?
I think they do 2.
2.
I think they do 2. Kind of one. I think one around the 3rd fret. I've never made one, but I assume they're like 3rd and 12th fret, something like that. But
right.
I think they're 2. I think very often they're 2-sided. But anyway, but if you wonder why they feel like a vintage Gibson Les Paul neck, it's because they know what they're doing.
Okay, you ready?
Okay, all right. Let me get my notepad here. Okay, we're doing Rorschach riffs,
So
Matthew.
4 riffs. Now, I think I was trying to find a category for these, but these are popular songs, 70s, 80s, and but I think they're mainly chords. They're not.
Okay.
They're not just like a riff, but like
Sure.
they're mainly sort of made up with chords. So,
All right,
whenever you're ready, you ready?
I'm ready.
See if I can get this down without. Yeah, I'm not. Sometimes I wonder if you don't warm up your hands, you get a little.
You're already blank, aren't you?
No, I'm good.
No. Okay. Oh, okay. That's hold on. Shh.
I got to do it fast.
Okay, all right, sorry. Go ahead. Okay. All right.
Now this one we need to do clean. We don't need the dirt on for this.
Okay, I think I know it. Go ahead. I know too.
More?
I know the song. I'm just got to play it in my head.
Okay, hang on.
Okay, start over with one.
You want to do one? Wasn't very clean there, wasn't it? Oh, no, a little dirt on that is good. And then let's just... Do you need more than that, or is that enough?
Well, I already think I know what it is, but now I could be wrong.
Okay, let me go to. I'll do for the third one. It's
You may be right, or I may be crazy. That's third?
that's the third one.
Wait, play that again.
I think I'm messing that up a little bit. That's the first chord. That's the opening chord.
Okay.
I think I messed that up a little bit with the other
well,
chords. But the fourth one, we'll do the fourth one. So
that's not an 80s song if it's one I'm thinking.
It's not. No,
Okay.
that's a 70s one.
All right. Okay. I know this. No song till now. Okay. All right. Yeah, I have to go through the lyrics and to get to the
Hard
hook.
sometimes, yeah.
Okay, should I go ahead?
Sure.
I thought this was fairly easy, Matthew. But that's a testament to the durability of these riffs.
Yeah, they stand out.
Number one is Jack and Diane
That's right.
by John Cougar, then John Cougar.
Right. And who worked on that record and then put that, what's that little part in the song where they do the breakdown and they just hear there's just the singing? It's called something, that little breakdown thing. There's a name.
No.
There's a name for that thing in the song.
A bridge?
It's not a bridge, but it's
a breakdown?
It's some kind of a thing like that. But you know who came up with that?
Who?
In the studio? Mick Ronson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He suggested that when they were working on the song. I don't know if he was the actual producer or he was just there. And he was like, "Oh, if you do this," because they came to that part of the, and then Mellencamp had said that totally makes the song, like that made it, where it was totally memorable. And I think it was a good song without that. But it that whole little breakdown when they do a cappella, then the drum comes in.
Yeah.
And starts up again. Okay, number 2.
Last Dance with Mary Jane.
Correct.
By Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Correct. Now, which album is that from? Is that?
I don't know.
It's an early album, but I can't remember which one.
It's not that early.
No.
Is it? No, is it?
Maybe I'm wrong. It just their stuff seems to sound so kind of classic. Maybe it's
okay. Third is Behind Blue Eyes by The Who.
Correct.
You thought I wouldn't get that?
No, I didn't want to throw you off.
I thought it was very recognizable right off the bat. And then when you played more, I thought, like, am I right?
Yeah, no, I was kind of messing it up a bit. That was
okay. Fourth, I knew was Billy Joel right off the bat.
Billy Joel.
But I was like, I couldn't think of the name of the song until I played it in my head.
And what is it?
Still Rock and Roll?
To me?
Yep.
There you go. Got it perfect.
All right.
That's quite the accomplishment.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't have been able to do that.
All right. Well, they're very, very, very recognizable, all those. I think you could have, Matthew. I'm going to give you credit for more credit than you giving yourself on that.
Well, I heard that Billy Joel song recently, and then I was like, well, that would be a good song to do. And then it's actually a pretty good song. Like when you actually listen to the whole song of what he's...
I heard it was a hit.
It was a hit. It was played probably... But when it's one of those songs, sometimes you listen to it and you go, it's just kind of annoying. But is
it annoying because it's annoying, or is it because it's annoying because you heard it over and over and over
Possibly
again?
That was it. Did you see Rick Beato when was criticizing those New York Times music critics they did the 30 greatest American songwriters. They did a cover story on the New York Times Sunday magazine, and then Rick Beato just sort of tore them all to shreds. But I think Billy Joel didn't even make the list or something, and they would just sort of scoff at Billy Joel.
When's the first you ever heard of Billy Joel? Can you remember the year?
I'm trying to think if somebody... I don't know the year.
When is his first album? Because I have a very distinct memory of living in Illinois in like 78, 79.
Probably. I was in grade school, so I was in grade school then.
And they would have ads on TV for the Piano Man.
Oh, really?
And they weren't promoting him as a... It was almost like sort of a Ronco-esque type.
Oh, really?
Like Zamfir style commercial.
Wow.
And I think it was an effort to promote him very early on. This is before he had a hit. And then I remember moving to Illinois to Michigan, and I guess it was the summer of 1980. But then it's like, oh, now he's a hit.
But that song...
my first contact, I remember those commercials before he had a hit.
Well,
he had a hit before 1980, right?
Oh yeah, I think Piano Man.
But I'm just trying to think what the very first, because I was listening to the radio all the time. Maybe to make it wasn't like top 40 hits that he had that they were playing on like radio that my siblings would be listening to. But I was seeing these sort of promo commercials on like Channel 44 which is the kind of cheap UHF channel in Chicago area.
So do you think those ads they were cheap to buy then? Do you think?
I think it was cheap to buy ads on. Yeah, it was because like it was do you remember UHF?
Oh yeah.
UHF was where the cheap, well, it's where the sort of, it's where the local stations that couldn't afford, that weren't affiliated with CBS, NBC, or ABC,
right,
might have their channel. I think WGN was the only one in the Chicago area that was, and PBS would be on the VHF, right? And my recollection is the VHF would have been CBS, NBC, ABC, PBS, and WGN. That was basically it.
Right.
But you'd have Channel 32, Channel 44, and of those, 44 was definitely the cheaper in the Chicagoland area. But I think that's where I saw the ad. So I think it was an effort at self-promotion very early on. before any hits. That's kind of my recollection. I don't know if I'm the only one that saw that sort of stuff.
To me, whenever I hear Piano Man, it almost doesn't, to my ear, I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks this, but it doesn't really even sound like a Billy Joel song. It sounds so different than his other stuff.
Yes. So my recollection is I remembered seeing those ads and thinking like that this was sort of like a lounge style of older music for older people. And then I heard sort of a rock, I don't remember what the song would have been. Maybe it was that. And like, oh, that's like a top 40 song. That's the same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you have musings, Matthew.
I have a couple of musings.
Do you want me to take the guitar?
Sure, you take the guitar.
All right.
Take that. So if you throw up...
I prefer not to.
Oh, sorry. That came out wrong, literally. So a couple of weeks ago, and we did 2 episodes, I think. So we didn't do a remote episode, but
Well, last week we did a remote episode, Matthew.
Did
anyone comment about that? It worked.
I didn't see any comments about it. No one. No. Someone commented.
Next week will likely be a remote episode too.
Yeah.
You're going to be on the road in the Great
White North.
Even though Toronto's just like really sideways from here.
A little farther north, but it's like
not much.
Sort of slide up a little bit.
Not much, really.
Just a little bit.
Everybody thinks it's colder there.
No,
it's colder by like what, 20 miles?
It's a little more than
north.
That, I think. A little more than that, but that's a good question. I should look at it where it is on the. It's maybe like at Saginaw. Or that's a good question. I don't know exactly. We're a little further north than Grand Rapids, so. But I took a big trip up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which I used to joke to a friend of ours. I said, "Oh, everybody in the UP of Michigan can get honorary Canadian citizenship because they might as well be Canadians up there. It's so far up, and it is the sort of the hinterland. I mean, you can drive like in Michigan. You can drive if you went from like the southeast corner of Michigan all the way to the northwest. I think it would take you 15, 16 hours.
Oh, I know. Paul likes to go up there.
Yeah.
And I asked him like how long the drive was where you had like texted something from where you were. I said, well, how long does it take to get there? He said, oh, like 12 and a half hours. I'm like, that's crazy.
Well, you're typically you're going a little slower on some of the roads up there. And then the traffic can be busy, and then summertime.
Yeah.
And then you tend to maybe stop a little more. But it's a ways up there. So I thought, well, it'd be interesting.
No, was it super smoky, I'm assuming?
Okay, yeah. So just to go back.
You were up there at the height of Canadian wildfire smoke.
Canadian wildfire smoke.
It was bad here.
It was fine the first 2 days. We went up on the Monday. Tuesday was fine. Tuesday was fine. Wednesday morning, it was like when I walked out to the car, ash was falling from the sky, like little bits.
Oh, you could actually see it.
Oh, you could see it.
Oh, wow.
And it was.
We didn't get that bad here.
It was all over the car, little bits, Yeah. But it was there. You definitely kept your windows up, and it was very, very smoky. The night before, we were staying in Baraga, Michigan. We were on this little bay. You could see the water. In the morning, you couldn't see anything. It was just like a whole wall of smoke. And it was like literally being in a campfire in a way. Because, I think for about 2 days, you just had like a low-grade kind of headache from the smoke. It was...
Well, we drove to Chicago.
Yeah.
And my kids had sort of a dorm room air filter.
Yeah.
I put that in the car, and we got a Jeep, and there's a plug in the back. I just plugged it in. Then put that on to recirculate.
To help everybody out.
Yeah. No, it was pretty bad. You got I'm having a hard time imagining it being worse than it was here, honestly. But if you had ash falling down.
Yeah. Yeah. The Wednesday was the first day of it. And we were at that point, we were sort of heading our way up to Houghton, Michigan, where Michigan Tech is, and then up the Keweenaw Peninsula and trying to get to Copper Harbor. We didn't even make it that far because we thought, well, when we get there, what are you going to see? You're not going to have any vistas or be able to see anything. It's just going to be kind of miserable. So we sort of stayed kind of up in the Houghton area and just across the lift bridge that goes across the portage. But one of the things I thought I would do when I was up there, we went up there initially. Part of it was to see the Upper Peninsula. We haven't been there as a family in 10 years or so, and I've never been that far north in Michigan. And I thought we would do that. And part of the reason we'd go up there is to go on this all Michigan shop hop for quilters. My wife's big into quilting.
Yes, this is the saddest story I've ever heard.
Well, the
grown man forced to travel the state of Michigan to look at quilting stores.
The similarities between the quilting store, life and the people who are into guitars and going to music stores, it's a lot of similarities. And then with the sewing machine, you've got the machine aspect of it. You have the technical aspect of it, of like getting the latest thing or whatever.
I don't think,
or something vintage.
I don't think young people of today understand the torture
of the fabric store.
Of the fabric store, because I was a child of the 70s. I was born in 1967, and this is an era where people, your mom probably probably had home economics and learned how to make her own clothes,
right,
and enjoyed doing it, and would go get patterns and go to the clothing store and make them. Fabric store, not clothing store. And it was just sheer torture to go to be a little kid in a fabric store.
Well, now that you say it like that, that's interesting.
Bolts of fabric everywhere. You couldn't see anything.
Yeah, your little kid walking in there. We would go into the local town in Brantford, and you'd go into the local fabric land, and I could probably last about 15-20 minutes in there.
Oh my gosh.
My mother would give us the keys. We had a 1969 it was a Plymouth Newport, and she'd give us the keys, and you'd go into the car and you'd turn the radio on and you'd listen to I think I've heard like that silly love songs, the Paul McCartney and Wings song a million times. No air conditioning. We wouldn't turn the car on. It was just, so the windows were down, rolled down manually, and just listen to the radio. So you probably listen to, and we spent a lot of hours going to my mother, going to the fabric store.
I know.
I would be.
You weren't the only one.
But anyway, what I thought I would do when I was up there, I'd go and see a music store. So if you put up that one little thing. So I went to a store called Yooper in...
Which one you want here? You want Yooper right here?
Put up Yooper.
Okay.
So this is a...
Now, explain Yooper.
Yooper is the euphemism for Yoopers, Upper Peninsula. People from the Upper Peninsula in Michigan are called Yoopers. And then that's the people who
have
live
a whole
above.
Accent, too.
They sound like Canadians. And then the people who live in the Lower Peninsula or on the other side of the Mackinac Bridge, those people are called trolls from the people who live up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it because they toll you when you
live
go
under the
bridge? Yeah, I see.
That's the idea. And it's a put down, so that they're better than. So I wanted to see, how does your average person in Marquette, Michigan, do they go to their music store? So this is, I think, one of the bigger stores. I didn't go to any other ones, but this was an interesting little store in a strip mall, and it had some interesting equipment. But they had.
This is your daughter holding.
That's Kathleen holding an early '80s.
She's so excited about the guitar she can't even keep her eyes open.
This is actually still available on Reverb at their site. It's a 1980-81 PV T15. Yeah, T15. So this is the Mississippi Mustang guitar.
Well, what kind of shape was it in case anyone is interested?
It's in good shape. It's all original. So it has, unfortunately, this picture doesn't show the tuning keys. It has original kind of plastic-ended tuning keys. And Phil McKnight did a review of one of these recently. Yeah. But it has the original knobs. Yeah. The PV.
People swipe those, don't they?
They swipe them, yeah. It's.
Well, now, why do they swipe them? They put them on other things?
I think
is it because they're machined metal or something?
They're machined metal with the PV logo on them.
Yeah.
So, and it has the little string knurl up at the top on the, and it has the case too, but they've cleaned out the disintegrating foam. It doesn't have the amplifier in the case, but it has. They had
amplifiers in the case. I don't remember seeing.
Yeah, you could get a little practice amp.
Oh, really?
In that molded plastic, thermal molded plastic case. And then I played.
Do you remember what they wanted for this?
It's $500.
Okay.
$499. I think if you go to Reverb,
Now these are shorter scale. You said what's the scale on this?
It's a 23-inch scale.
Wow, that is shorter.
And it's a very, very thin neck. But those pickups, like if you listen to Phil McKnight's demo on his show, it sounds pretty cool. It sounds very good. It sounded nice. And then I played it through this just behind.
Is it a Champ?
It's a Silverface silver panel. I think it's a 78, and I wrote it down here. 78 silver panel Fender Champ. That I think it's missing one of the.
What do they want for that?
Baffles. I think it's $850. They want for that.
That's a lot. I don't know. That probably is. I don't know. That just seems like a lot. I mean, I bought that Princeton Reverb for. Well, I bought it for like. When I bought it for like 12 something at Guitar Center, and then I got them to knock like another $150 off of it, But this local store had a whole bunch of used vinyl, had new vinyl. They had Engine de Potine for sale there, so they're not, they're on top of it. They had guitar repairs, amp repairs. Did they have any like? Was that Champ kind of the most vintagey thing in there?
The top of my head that I saw, yeah, a lot of it was.
It looks like a lot of sort of introductory.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Introductory sort of beginner instruments.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole bunch. They did have I think a 1970 Gibson long scale EB bass, like with the big Mudbucker pickup. That was on the wall behind me. I should have taken a picture of that. But I looked at it and said, what's weird about that? That has an original case as well. That's on the Reverb as well. And they did have a brand new Nash Telecaster.
Oh, wow.
They said it's brand new. It was about $2,300 or so. But in the store they have it was kind of interesting because they had all this used and new vinyl, CDs, stereo equipment. Like some of it was new, some of it was vintage. They did guitar repairs and amp repairs right there, and it wasn't a huge place. They had a lot of lessons going on. They had, I don't know how many rooms they had, but there were kids coming out, their parents picking them up from doing a music lesson. So, and then go to that last little picture too. There's some pictures. In terms of a community place, it's obviously fairly important. But I signed us up for this, John. So I thought maybe you'd be interested in going up.
How many hours is it? This is a historic Thunder Bay Inn. Is it a blues?
This is like a blues weekend.
And how long does it take to get there?
Well, this is even a little further north, up on Lake Superior from Marquette. It's maybe an hour away or so. This location, maybe only 40 minutes. But
from Grand Rapids, what kind of travel time are we looking at?
Probably say 4 hours to the bridge, and then over. You're probably 10 hours.
That's all.
You'd be interested in that?
No, thank you.
That's one way. That's not even.
Yeah. No. So I can see though that AI has made its way to the Upper Peninsula because that guitar, that has the look of sort of an AI generated thing. And if you count the tuning pegs on that Telecaster, with that Telecaster like guitar that has Strat neck, it's got 5 tuning keys. It appears.
I wasn't noticing that. I was thinking this.
You didn't decide. You didn't get your kids in the car and say we're leaving now. Actually, if you showed them, they probably would have said that, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
My kids are not AI fans.
Oh no, yeah. My daughter isn't a big AI fan.
I'm more optimistic about it. They are.
But you could see at a place like that, And then, I looked at their Instagram page, and they had some notes from the winter because they had a very tough winter this past in 2026, and there was a couple of notes from the. It said the little handwritten notes they would post saying, "Plan for the day, snowshoe in, have store open, 10 to 5." So I guess the roads are so bad, they would just, just wherever he lived in Marquette, he would just get to the store. And then some other notes it said closed today, too much snow. So I think there is definitely a real sense of sort of community in these places because there just aren't as many options. Here we can go to Guitar Center. Unfortunately, we can't go to Rainbow anymore. But
no, we can't.
You can You can drive down a couple hours if you really wanted to. You could get down to Fort Wayne and go to Sweetwater.
Oh, we did that. We did that once, or I did that. You do.
We did it separately.
We did separately, but on the same day. But
yeah.
Can I do the outro?
Sure. That's it. That's the Guitar Fest. Are they going to do that again?
Did you think Sweetwater was a little weird? I mean, it's interesting, but as a guitar store, it's a little odd.
In what way? Just because the size of the place, or
yes, but I think was it just that day to buy? If you buy something, you have to we had to go to the warehouse or something.
Yeah, you had to line up at the warehouse. I think it was just that one day.
There
was a lot of people there.
It's probably yeah. I assume there's people, or it's probably a different matter if you're not going on that Sweetwater Fest thing or whatever they call it.
Yeah, I haven't seen any notes about it, or have you seen anything about it? That they're going to do it again? They usually do it every year.
I haven't seen.
But it moved last year in 2025. It was on the 27th of September, I think, and that's when I went to see Zach Bryan at Michigan Stadium. So I didn't make it last year. You tried to play along now? All right.
I keep wondering if I'm curious to see if the difference between Alnico 5 and Alnico 2 came through.
I think it did. The 5 is definitely it's a little more strident. It's distorts quicker, wouldn't you say? And it's fuller. Or rough around the edges, or
it's a
little more bluesy.
It's punchier.
Punchy.
This is the 5. I'm not even good all the way. But I guess it's an echo.
You know what you need to do here? Show the you need to have a little thing here, and then the pickup would flip. And then you'd have a 5 and a 2, so you could hit a button, it would just flip.
Oh, it just slide the magnet out somehow?
It would be a whole...
Oh, I see.
Like a license plate flipper,
I get you, like James Bond or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. Oh, that's the beginning. No, we want the end.
We want the end. We want to thank you.
That's it.
Thanks for watching.
Hey, everybody, too. Like and subscribe.
Well, we never say that.
We never say
we
that.
Assume you do, I guess.
Well, we got fans.
Yeah.
Let YouTube know. Tell them you like it.
And we
put the like in there. Subscribe. The big YouTube machine likes that, I guess.
I guess they want you to say that every week.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.